wonderful thought running in my head for the last half an hour. Uh, the thought is called the happiness revolution.
Hmm.
Now, why I want to bring it up is yesterday I had seen something and I had shared it on one part of my social media somewhere about this kid asking this Zen master, "Why are you happy?" He says, "Just because I am," or something like that. I don't even
Yeah, I
remember.
don't need a reason to have given up on finding a reason to be happy.
Yeah. So I don't need a reason to be happy. True.
Mm.
So I just, for many years, uh, in fact, there used to be a stack of Osho's tarot cards
Mm.
where one of these guys had an old person who had a praying mantis on his finger.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always, if there is ever an ambition in me, it is to be as peaceful and as fun or as at peace as that man in that picture that has been created. And of course, it was about all of creation and you are a one with it and that kind of description, but that is really unimportant. I don't know what is happiness except that just a feeling of being, whatever it is.
Mm. Mm.
So the reason why I've been thinking for the last half an hour is that I find a lot of us associate happiness with laughter, with jokes, with a sense of uh, physical expression of being happy, smiling, or a beatific way. The
Mm.
saints look in their pictures with that aura behind, and uh, in India specifically, we have that notion. I find at times I don't need anything at all, not even that expression or anything. The best happiness is just being and just the mind is at rest,
Mm. Mm.
and there's not much happening there. My first question to you is that happiness, according to you?
Yeah, yeah, you said it spot on. The typical laughter or the physical expression of joy that is often said to be the form of happiness is, I think, is sort of not that it is not happiness, but it is a bit more um, in your face, exaggerated version of happiness. But like you rightly say, I would, for me, happiness would be being content and peaceful, that there's nothing that is bothering me, nothing nagging me, nothing worrying me. It is me being me in this space of life, and find, and just that expression is joyous. To be me is a joyous expression of myself. So yeah,
Okay.
I would call that happiness.
So let me qualify it with something that happened today. So I was meeting a friend of mine. She asked, "Oh, you seem to need a coffee. You don't seem very happy." I came home and my kid also said the same thing. You seem too stressed." But I was not. There was some lack of sleep and there was a bit of tiredness because of the day being Saturday and we do what we do. Uh, but I was in a very good space. I was thinking about something. I needed an answer to that. Maybe that had, I may have a wrinkled brow at that time. I don't know. But there was no, there is this beauty of having a problem and working at the solution. Not that I want the solution now or I'm
Mm.
struggling with the problem, no such thing. There is
Mm.
just problem, needs a solution.
Mm.
Uh, you use the word content and peaceful together. I don't want to go to the peaceful bit yet, but contentment is something that is very rarely understood as a peaceful or a happy point uh, in the way the world is designed today. That
Mm.
includes me, of course. We are part of the problem, and I am as much as so. A new dish excites me, whether cooking or whether I have landed up eating it or tasting it, uh, or a new experience, meeting a new person, or interesting thing, some interesting thing happening on my job, uh, a good podcast at times. Uh, and I'm not talking of the physicality of it. Okay, oh, we had a great conversation, and
Mm.
my viewers will have a great time, and I hope it works. Although I must admit, the ones that I think are going to work the most are almost always having 10, 20 views. And the ones that I think, I don't know if you've done a great job, and suddenly you find 60 views, 80 views, 100 views, and whatever, something is happening.
Right.
So my question to you, in a world designed to make achievement or success of any kind very important to happiness, isn't this losing out on something if I'm just being happy by doing nothing? I mean, what does life have to move on then? To what?
I think, like with everything else in life, no matter which emotion you take, it's a spectrum. So it is not just one point and it's black or white, whether it's there or not there. It is not that is oversimplification of life because life works in layers and dimensions. It's not as straightforward. Um, so for me, may it be joy or anger or fear, whatever, take anything. It is a spectrum. So you have the lowest point and the highest point, for a lack of a better word, but they're just different ends of the spectrum. So the so-called achievement or a promotion mila, I'm super happy, or I'm going on a travel that I had been wanting for a long time, is probably the one more external other end of joyous expression. And the other opposite to that would be the more quieter me, myself, content is probably the other. So it is not whether this is happiness or that is happiness is not the question, I think. It's like, which are you at in this point in time? And you generally, normal human experience will tend to swing between this and that. And that
True.
is just life. Don't you think?
Uh, okay, so let me rephrase the question uh, in a different manner, perhaps. So,
Mm,
while the spectrum might be all of human experience, there is perspective.
mm,
There is mine, there is yours, there is
mm,
somebody else's. Uh, and we, being social beings, are impacted by the other perspective. How does that impact our sense of being in the moment? For you, how does that happen? So you mentioned, okay, the spectrum contains quote unquote negative things. This is my uh, anger and jealousy and any such thing. How do you? So if you're angry, we've been having something that happened on social media a couple of days back. There is this lady who gets very angry at a politician because she's been waiting for 1 hour in the traffic jam, and it's all over the internet.
mhm.
So there is also this thing of whether women should be this angry and this kind of expression should happen, and I'm like, funny, there is a context to it. And why are you taking one aspect of it and saying whether this
Exactly.
should, but it is a reaction to something that is happening. So in toto we need to take both if at all you want to really discuss.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So my question to you is, having said that, as a person, when I am angry and I go back to look at my anger, uh, a new sense of discovery is happening at times, where I'm kinder to myself and saying, "Okay, yeah, but I'm not self-judgmental. I'll end up saying, you can do better. Come on, money." And there is a more friendly way of saying, is this what you want to be? Uh,
Mm, mm,
Although the great part is that anyway, touch wood, hopefully it doesn't last too long
mm,
most times. But still, I am realizing that there is this element that my being angry is impacting you
mm.
and leading on to something that shouldn't have been could have been avoided in the first place.
Yeah.
So how do you, you personally, if there is an example or a story where you think uh, something has happened that has triggered something in you, and I am
Mm,
saying that the basic question remains happiness.
mm, mm.
How do you, like, okay, I have a nice way to frame the question
Go
finally.
on.
Where is the joy in being angry?
Good one. The joy in being angry will be found when you become aware of why you are angry, and if that is the expression you really want to choose for yourself, that's where you'll find joy. So it is
Um,
that awareness that will be the game changer for you.
Give me
So,
an
like you
example.
said, you got angry, and when we generally are angry and not aware that we are angry, we tend to react. It's a reflexive response, a reflexive reaction that you give. It's not thought through. So you would say things that you would later regret, or do things that you later regret. That is a reaction. It's a blind action. But if you are aware at that point, and if you have built your awareness muscle enough for you to be aware when you're angry, then you choose a response. Okay, I know I'm angry. I'm not going to say a word. I'm going to walk away from here, cool myself down, think about it, and then come back and respond to this. You
Hmm.
found your joy in that scenario. You have found a way to take back your power, to be yourself, and make a choice of how you want to be at that point in time.
Do you want a really deep question coming here?
Go on.
Who is myself? I'm already occupying the mind state and the body state in that moment. Now, who is this other self that I'm finding? If I were to just hypothesize a question.
Yeah, it's if you really how I mean, it's very difficult to give an example, because again, there's something not a lot of us are aware of, but there is a ghost in the machine, like the neuroscientific world would like to call it. So it's like, for example, when you are, it's always mind boggling when you really think about it. So if you're driving and you're on the phone or chatting with a mate, um, and you don't think about the route you're on, but you're going home. So it's a familiar route, right? And you will take all the right turns, avoid all the pedestrians, stop at the right signal, do everything spot on. But you've never thought about it because you're busy engaged in a very exciting conversation with a friend or on the phone, whatever. How did you get it then? You didn't think about, oh, red, I have to stop, or green, I have to go, or the pedestrian, I shouldn't hit the pedestrian. Oh, is it in this left or the next left? You never thought any of those stages, but you went through all of them. How?
Am I accessing the memory? If I were to look
But
at it
you
logically.
didn't access it because you and your mind were engaged in a conversation, a very exciting one, that too. So, who took you home?
Hmm. So are
That
you
is the self,
saying,
which is the Sakshi element, or which is the witnesser.
yeah. So my question was, are you saying there is a way to distance oneself from the sense of whatever is the self? And I am asking this question because you said you have to exercise the awareness muscle enough for
Hmm.
this to come
Yep.
to. So there is a practice, any practice. I will not get into this or that.
Hmm.
Um, so we need to practice knowing, observing, whatever
Hmm.
term you want to use,
Hmm.
the mind and body as a form called Vanti,
Hmm. Hmm.
and he looks like this, he is this.
Hmm.
Let us just keep a watch, whatever that practice is. I don't know what that practice is because I don't want to define something that somebody takes home from the lecture because
Hmm.
uh, from this conversation, it's not even a lecture.
Hmm.
But yeah, because I want to be mindful of the words that I use. These are
Hmm.
fairly heavy words. There are a lot of masters who speak about these kind of things. I don't want to get there. I want to keep it very basic every
Hmm.
day.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
are you saying if I learn something and I keep doing it, it becomes an automatic response to be able to create that distance that you're mentioning, even in matters that are out of my hand in that moment?
If I understand your question right, for you to be that witnessing self in times which where you feel there's an emotional deluge of some sort, or you're
Yes,
super angry, yeah, that sort
yes,
of scenario.
yes.
Yes, the short answer to that question is yes. Again, that awareness comes with whatever practice you pick for yourself. I think at the core, the starting point would always, at all points, be meditation, where you go in. So, first, you have to know that there is something inside apart from the physicality and the sensory input that you're getting. What you see, hear, taste, all of that is there, but that is not life. There are lots of thoughts that you feel, lot of emotions that you feel, but that is not you either. So there is something else which you can only get in touch with in that deep inward state, which often the only way that I know is meditation. So that is that is the first step, I think. And then once that is there, then you are in touch with a deeper state of yourself, which then will surface at times when you are not seemingly in control of yourself. So when you're in that very angry mode or jealous mode or whatever it is, a deep sense of frustration, whatever it is, that emotion that seems to be wanting to take control and seems to be taking control, doesn't need to take control because you are not allowing it control. You that is watching the emotion in action is not letting it take control, because I choose for it to not. And you can choose for it to take control as well. There is no that this is how it should be and not should be. You can at some point say, I want to give in, I want to give a vent out, I want to talk back at this point on a reaction and not think about it and respond. Valid choice. But as long as you're making the choice knowingly and willingly.
How do you, I'm asking a very provocative question, how do you know all this is not a figment of your imagination?
It very well could be. Serves me, serves my life, works for me, doesn't have to for everybody. What isn't a figment of imagination, if I can ask the question back
What
to you?
isn't? Wonderful.
What isn't?
Wonderful. Wonderful. But sorry, I want to go back to my question because there was a certain nuance I missed out on expressing. You opened up a new podcast. It's so beautiful. Having said that, so my earlier question came from a point of, you said it serves you well, even if it is a figment of imagination. I'm saying when I start on this journey, I find it very difficult. Because my anger takes the better side of me and shoves it down, and I just land up blasting, giving full expression. Now, it's the first few times I'm just starting to look at myself. There's zero control sometimes. After so many years also, I can see there are days there is just zero control and you're like, you don't even know. Like I can really claim that sometimes in the middle of traffic or something gets the better of me and I've landed up doing something, shouting at the petrol pump attendant, and every time I see him, I remember that one day I had shouted at him, and now I think, there's nothing to it. But why did I? I don't even know. I have this favorite phrase that is often used in this courtroom dramas: temporary insanity.
Yes.
So I find that very fascinating. It insanity है, तुमको पता चल रहा है, temporary है, you know that also. But उस वक्त you are like supremely temporarily insane. And my question to you is, how do you find hope and joy in this discomfort? You know you are being stupid and you're being loudly stupid, and 3,000 people and 20 people on the petrol pump are watching you, and you are like, what? And where is the joy in this?
No. At that point, I know it feels all lost. How can you be so stupid and dumb and all of
and
that?
You know while you're doing it. I'm saying that also.
Yes. But you have already uttered those words. It's already out. And then
Yes.
how do you take it back? You can't. So yeah, none of us are perfect at the end of the day, Nare. We are all imperfect in our own wonderful ways, but finding our path. It's a journey. From our first breath to our last breath, it's a journey. We are not going to reach our destination anytime before our last breath, is my belief. If you believe that you have reached it, you've missed something.
Okay, so you're saying life has a purpose.
It has the purpose you give it. Everything is meaningless per se. On its own, if you think, anything and everything in life is meaningless, and everything and anything in life is meaningful. Everything is sacred and everything is irrelevant. So how do you want to see life? It's your life. So it's a journey. Like I totally understand the frustration. I have been there myself. I know you talk things and then you realize, "Ugh, that was unnecessary. You shouldn't have said that." But it is fine. The way to come back from that is just by being kind to yourself. Self-compassion is at the core to be on that pathway to the next possibility where you just might hold your cool. It might happen tomorrow, it might happen a month, 1 year, 10 years. It's a journey. But I am going to be on it. I insist on keeping myself on it. And I insist on being kind to myself throughout the journey. Because I know I'm not perfect. And I know nobody is perfect. Then what am I being special about?
I have a very interesting statement to make. You can react to it. This is in reaction to your earlier statement. What if it is irrelevant or what if it is meaningful? What would you choose? What if I chose that irrelevance is the meaning? And I don't mean it to play with words.
No?
Actually, I mean the irrelevance or the, okay, this puts the whole conversation in a new perspective. So if I am the smallest speck in a universe which is huge and completely beyond my control, how can I be happy about the nothing that I am?
But so is everything around you. Why are you special and why do you have to be something when everything all the time is nothing? It's just another speck like you. And the universe doesn't do mistakes. I don't believe the universe is something that's so perfect can do mistakes. So if it wants you there, it wants each of this speck in itself. So that can't be nothing.
Okay. You answered the other question. The other part of the question was that I am not in the comparison mode. So it doesn't matter if somebody else is a speck. This is more
Doesn't matter.
introspection without the pun intended. Um, the way this conversation is leading itself to whatever it is leading itself to, are you saying the sense of being with what is in that moment has to be the lightest and the brightest and the happiest thing? That is, if we are talking maximum possibility, and that is why there could also be a balance in the entire spectrum that you need to continually find for yourself.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's a moving goalpost.
So, it's a moving goalpost. Uh, are there bad days that one can have on this kind of journey?
Of course, it's a guarantee. It's a guarantee. You will have bad days. It is part of the process. But like I said, coming back to the kindness is what will take you through that bad days.
Is compassion happiness?
Compassion will lead to happiness. It is part of happiness. It is the other side of the coin of happiness. Without compassion, I don't think there is any hope for us to survive life. Compassion to ourselves and others.
So you're not only talking about ourselves. Okay. Hmm. So then why is there this great struggle to reach a kind of happiness that we all seem to be dreaming about, where there is no sorrow, there is no this? Why is the struggle there? Because it's a very popular idea. I will quote something after this because I don't want to color your answer first.
So I think a lot of this perspectives that are fed to us, social media, friends, environment, society, all of them around are somewhere on their own journey and are giving their perspective. Again, it is their perspective. There's no right and wrong about it. It is their perspective. And it's up to you to choose whether that works for you or not. Why do we have to take it at face value? You could, no harm, but if it's not serving you, you'll have to reevaluate it as well. So why are these external factors determining what should give you happiness. Is that a sort of thing that would really work? It may not. It may. You might try it and say, yeah, okay, I tried it, but it is okay. I didn't really feel that happy as that person said he felt or she felt. It's a bit of a trial and error also across the road. So all of that feeds into you figuring things out for yourself. So you need the different inputs to then figure out which of them work, or something in between them, or something totally none of them said works. But I have to try somewhere. Step of a 1,000 miles begin with the first step, right?
So I have two things to say here.
Hmm.
One is the quote I wanted to bring up, that there is this whole conspiracy about happiness being the end goal of our existence, whereas it should be wholeness was the term that
Hmm.
whoever
Hmm.
had written that.
Hmm.
And in the same spirit, I had my own question right now when you were speaking. What if I were to flip the coin and say sadness is a very important part of happiness? Uh, would there be some merit to that kind of statement for you?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to recognize something in isolation, right? So if I hadn't felt sad, I wouldn't know what happiness would be or feels like. I need the so even in our medical world, all of the so-called what is normal is defined after seeing the abnormal. How ironical is that? It's not the other way around. We would imagine it's the other way around, right? This is normal. So anything that isn't within this sort of dimension is abnormal. No. Generally, we see the abnormal and then it says, oh, that doesn't feel right. So that shouldn't be the normal, right? So this is normal. So how is this any different? The whole spectrum of emotions, each of them, no matter how horrible or terrible they sometimes can make you feel, have a purpose on informing you about yourself. It sort of sheds a light on a part of yourself which you probably were not in direct contact with or were aware of. Or, when you know of these women who show great strength when their child is trapped or something, it's that sort of a thing. I didn't know I could lift a car when my child was trapped underneath the car, that sort of a thing. So it sort of sheds a light in us, which sometimes gets sort of hidden in the sometimes the rut of life or the hyper drama of life, whatever. So all of these emotions serve a cause, serve a purpose.
Also, what comes to my mind is that context is very important to everything, because context defines how you're feeling and what is coming up there. And context need not necessarily be recognized by each and everyone in the same way at that point of
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Your life, your context. Yeah.
Yeah, and the perspective feeds itself to the journey for you to learn from it, whether it is right or wrong. Life will tell you in its own time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Just a random question. Uh, there are some movies where the protagonist is happy to be sad all the time. And not necessarily, it's not drama necessarily. It's a very silent kind of easy being where he, I remember, because couple of movies I remember like that, but they don't um, engage with others in that manner. They have their own little thing and they'll keep doing things. Once a while there is some frustrating thing because the drama has to be shown that he is unhappy. Uh, what is that?
So one possibility would go back to what you had mentioned earlier in our conversation, where you had come back and somebody said, "Oh, I think you need a coffee. You look very tired." And you come home and your daughter says, "Oh, Papa, I think you're very tired. What's happening?" And sorts. And you actually weren't.
Hmm.
So the other's perspective of what's actually happening inside you is not a most the right perspective necessarily. Sometimes it could be right, but sometimes it could be totally off.
Wonderful, because this connects to the earlier uh, context setting answer also.
Yes.
Uh, do you also think that we put a lot of premium on being happy all the time, and this this thing might itself be uh, burdening the search for happiness?
Yeah. Like I said, there's so much emphasis laid on that very extrovert, external expression of happiness where you're laughing and you're, all these pictures that come up in your social media and or on TV or whatever you see. That is unfortunately shown as, but I can imagine in a program or in a TV, how else do they convey it? If somebody's sitting quiet, you wouldn't know they're happy, right? They have to have that physical manifestation to convey a point in some way, maybe. So from a visual media sense, I think that is where the misunderstanding happens, and people take it at literal face value and say, oh, that's the only way to be happy. And if you're not going on a fancy holiday or having fancy things, you're not going to be happy, is the misunderstanding that has come into play from there on. But if you actually look at reality and life all around you, nobody can be that happy all the time. Seriously, it is physically exhausting to be that way, I would imagine. I just sometimes want to, even if I go on a good holiday and come back, I want to come back home, sit in my corner, do my thing. That is joy, So you do need that. You do need the change of scene and everything, but this is joy. But who would know that that is my joy? Nobody would know that.
Yeah.
So for them, me on the holiday is the joy element.
A funny aside, I remember a conversation. I used to work in an agency where there were hundreds of people working, and all kinds of conversation would happen. So me and this girl were walking into some cabin kind of thing, and there was another girl sitting on her computer, and she had the most fantastic smile. Amazing, absolutely. So this girl with me commented, I always love the fact that you're smiling. Matlab you're always smiling, kind of thing. And she said, no, my facial muscles are in no way connected to my state of mind.
Beautiful.
And for the first time, I realized that, this could be the case. I like the nuances that have come up in this conversation about what is happiness really. So any which ways, I want to stay small on this particular conversation. So my last question, perhaps, the reason why I called it the happiness revolution, because the world is feeding off our fear and doubt and anxiety and depression and suppression and idiocy. We are celebrating it in every way. When we grew up, it wasn't like that. You were like a normal person with normal good things and bad things happening to you. Your parents scolded you if you were wrong, and you may be having a bad day. In 15 minutes, you're sitting with your parents and trying to convince them of something else. And it's a normal life. There was no big deal about anything.
Exactly.
You think being that simple in today's life is the ultimate revolution against what is
It
happening?
would be. It would be. Everything is just hyper focused. Sometimes I feel that you lose that balance. Like happiness has to be extreme happiness, and sadness is like really down in the dumps. Life doesn't quite work like that. You somehow, as with all of nature, it finds a balance. The homeostasis is the nature of life generally. Homeostasis is the in between balance sort of state. So it is okay to go up and down, but nature finds its way. It finds its equilibrium. And I think somewhere our lives, our childhoods were more representative of that, where your achievements were not over focused and your so-called failures were not over focused either. Yeah, sometimes happens. Sometimes you fail an exam. Sometimes you hurt your knee. It's okay. Just move on. And yeah, you got good grades. Well done. Keep it up. Let's move on. But now, you got a cake, good grades. Let's cut the cake. Let's party. It's sometimes where I think it's exhausting. I find it exhausting. So, but somewhere I think people are getting carried away from what they see and hear, and they have to match up to what everybody else does, peer pressure, all sorts. Is a revolution in itself to hold yourself back from all of that and take a moment of breath and sort of see, what do I want to do with this achievement or failure? How do I want to manage it? So
So self-awareness, uh, through some kind of distance, even if it is artificially created in the moment, for you to realize, okay, let's just wait and see where this is going, whatever it is. I'm saying it could be an exciting thing. Like it often happens is in a traffic jam, you find everybody is frustrated and you are also feeling it's hot, yeah, let's get out of this
move
heat.
on, yeah.
But the signal is showing 120 seconds to go. You've got to wait for 2 minutes. There's nothing you can do about it. And the moment you say, okay, okay, there's nothing I can do about it, you let go and there might be the
Mm-hmm.
answer perhaps.
Correct,
Then
correct.
it's no longer as frustrating.
No.
Uh, Wonderful. This has been a very, very engaging topic. I didn't have one, but I kept thinking about this topic while I was thinking we are going to speak. Uh, uh, you also said that compassion is the other side of happiness, perhaps. I feel this great urge to share the merits of this kind of conversation where we spoke about happiness and our genuine thirst to be uh, authentically happy, if that's the
Mhm.
term.
Yes.
May all share the benefits of our fragile attempt to make some sense out of this absolutely irrational, moody, on the spot conversation on happiness. May all be happy. May all be happy. Thank you.
So be it. So be it. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Bunty,
so
for this
much.
opportunity.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.